So you wanna self-publish a book? Well, I hope you like pain. Not really, but a little. Today I'm gonna walk you through my entire experience, every single step, A to Z, of the nightmare that is self-publishing a book. I say that in general, I actually did enjoy publishing my novella. It was a fun experience. There were painful moments, and I'm gonna walk you through each and every single one. Note, I am not an expert. This is essentially just a walkthrough of my journey, and you'll see some of the mistakes I made, and hopefully if someday you want to self-publish, you could avoid my errors. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get in from conception to actual publication, the self-publish process. So you're going to start off, obviously, writing your book. There is a lot of writing advice videos out there, and I've even given quite a bit of advice to my subscribers here about the best way to crank through the ideas building in your head. Now, specifically a couple things I haven't hit on before that I found extremely useful is to write in some way that is portable. I liked writing on an iPad with that nice little keyboard because I could take it anywhere, and every time I encountered writer's block, I could just get up and go to a different setting, and that became extremely conducive to getting the ideas out of my head. Also coffee. Also other performance-enhancing drugs. Anything you need that's not harmful to yourself to get the ideas out is important. Now, this is your first draft. You're going to hate it. By the time you're done, you are going to absolutely disdain what you have written. At least that was my experience. It's okay. No matter how much you don't like what you just wrote keep moving forward. I found it to be extremely crucial to just build momentum and sustain it. The few times I stopped writing, it became a big hurdle to get back into the groove. But great, you've gotten through quite a bit, and your first draft is looking all right. At this point, give yourself a little bit of a break, pat yourself in the back, maybe go over what you've written, but don't try and go for that full second draft. Really get that first draft done before you start heavily editing. Keep pushing through. However much you're trying to write, it's going to take different amounts of time. Write at your own pace. Don't compare yourself to Sanderson, and just get it done. Okay, your first draft is done. Wonderful. Go through, second draft that boy up, maybe give it to a couple friends who don't necessarily have a great ton of writing experience to check on and see what they think as well. Note, if you give a cat your writing, its feedback will not be very useful. Also, if you give your writing to a friend, you might find yourself feeling the need to go, look, it's a first draft, just don't judge me. I just need your honest opinion if you don't mind. You're gonna add a lot of caveats. Let yourself do that, but no, it's not necessary. They understand. You're self-publishing, it's an early copy. Have faith. You're good. And if you're hiring strangers on the internet, you don't care if they judge you, so that's fine too. Take their feedback, make sure they're people you trust who actually give you constructive criticism, and move forward from there. Do your entire second edit and actually try and maintain that momentum you have from the first draft. Really get through this. Give it to more people, get feedback, get opinions. Wonderful. Your book is looking stronger, and at this point, you might not entirely hate it and do less of that like justifying when you hand it to people like, no, it's a first, just don't judge me. Now you're gonna be like, yeah, that's what I wrote. And now you're going to make your third draft, and at this point, you might even start to see the story you really wanted to tell taking form. You're confident, you're like, that's my baby, that's it. Wonderful. Now you need to give it to editors. You need line editors, copy editors, proofreaders. It's important to do this. Even development editing, get it all done and get it done by professionals. This is not as expensive as you might think, but it is gonna be a pretty penny. You can find a lot of these people online by just Googling, looking at different forums where people are talking about self-publishing. There is infinite resources to find people who will do each stage of the editing process for you. Here's why it is so crucial you do all of them. There is a stigma around self-publishing of it not being as professionally well done and edited as the stuff that's traditionally put out. And because of that, people continue to look down in many ways on self-publishing. Don't be a part of the problem. Get your book in shape that it's something that a reader can get through smoothly and not constantly be finding errors and then actually put in their brain, oh yeah, I guess self-publishing is kind of crap. Don't be a part of the problem, be a part of the solution. Get your books edited every way that you need to for whatever genre you're shooting for. Now, once you've gone through all this editing, read your book again, go through, see what you think. Does it still feel like yours, or does it feel like the editing hand was a bit too heavy and you want to make some changes back? You're gonna have editors that just rephrase things and stuff, and you're like, that doesn't feel like how I'd put that. It's okay to disagree with your editors in some situations and actually put it back to the way it was. Remember that. You do not need to do everything the editor tells you. Everyone likes to think grammar just has like one set of rules. That's actually not true. There's stylistic preferences within things like this, so you're gonna have to make calls. But all right, you've got it back in your hands. This is your semi-final draft, possibly. possibly go back to writing, go through it all again, and basically just comb through line by line. Is this what I want this story to be? And again, look for those grammar, small errors that even after all this editing in multiple people's hands could possibly have been missed. Now, while the editing is happening, it's probably a good time to start looking into artists. You're done with the first few drafts, and before too long, you might actually be ready to start getting it out there. So let's have the art being developed. There's a couple different kinds of art you want done here, and there's layout. So let's get into the art first. Go to ArtStation. That's where I found my artist after being recommended to go there, but there are so many people on that website who are fantastic artists, and they'll say in their bio whether or not they're looking to take commissions or not. Find someone who is, start negotiating price. For the kind of cover you're going for, there's going to be quite a wide range of possible reasonable price ranges. Look up, hey, if you're trying to do like wholly original art, yeah, it's going to be on the more expensive end, and you might have to pay a little bit higher. If you're finding someone who just uses like existing clip art and stuff to formulate the art you're going for, it'll be a little bit cheaper. You need to figure it out. That's your call. Just look into what reasonable prices are. Again, you'll find that discussed online. Find the artist you're in love with and honestly be willing to pay for it. If you find someone who's extremely talented who you think can represent your book well, paying a little bit more up front will, one, probably get more people to buy it because people do judge books based on their covers, and two, you'll love your book more as a result. All right, great. They're probably going to take a couple months. They have clients. They need to get your art done. It takes time as well, so leave them alone. Although they'll ask you questions, you send information back. You decide how much free rein you want to give them, but be detailed. Every time the artist asks you a question, really give them a full answer. It seems like you might want to be vague and be like, oh, just no. They will do their job better and be more confident working for you if you paint them a clear picture of what's in your head with your words. They like that, so do that. And pay your artists. Agree to pay half up front. Don't cheap out on your artists or try to not fully pay them.
You're a scumbag if you do that.
There's a reason you're paying them this cost. They have a skill you cannot do. Pay your artists and tip them if it feels appropriate. You're also going to need to find a layout guy. You won't be able to do it yet because your cover art's still being worked on, but someone needs to do the layout of your cover, including the text, the fonts, all this stuff. You're not good enough to do it unless you have a background in that, so get someone. Here, again, there's all kinds of website forums. I recommend you just Googling like, hey, layout design, text design on covers. There's people on Instagram who have followings who do it as well. Just find one you like, slide in their DMs, negotiate. This will be cheaper than the full cover, obviously, and maybe you can find an artist who's willing to actually do that simultaneously with the cover and the layout, and it'll be all in one. Try to find that if you can. That sounds great. But then there's also the internals. You can handle the internal layout of your book, actually. It's not as hard as you think because there's phenomenal tools available. I recommend Vellum. This is recommended to me by iWriterly. I talked to her a lot about the self-publishing process. Cannot recommend her channel enough if you need more detail than what I'm going to go through here. Vellum basically allows you to take your book from whatever Google Docs or thing you wrote it in, put it in Vellum, and it'll automatically detect when the chapters are, what kind of breaks you want, and you can go through step by step very easily. Any idiot can figure this out and just design the interior of your book. Of course, because it's software like this, you can't be super customized, but you can do some pretty neat stuff, and it will feel enough like your book by the time you're done if you really put the effort in to find out how the smaller tools in Vellum work. You also can easily generate your ebooks from here. Fantastic. You're knocking out two with one stone. Do not think, though, the first version of your book you put in Vellum is the last time you're going to use it. We'll come back to that later. But your writing itself, you're probably on your final draft by now. While working on the art, going over it again and again, getting in the editors, getting it some beta readers, all this stuff is back to you, and suddenly you're happy with it. That's the soul of your book. You need to work on a few more things, but you have the soul of your book down. Awesome. Now we need to get to the hard part, publishing and distribution. I cannot speak on this with great authority. I really cannot. What I can say is what I chose, and that's Ingram Spark, which is a print-on-demand company, because of their generally positive reviews. No print-on-demand company had hugely successful, all positive reviews, and I think there's a pretty logical reason why. Print-on-demand companies have to deal with a lot of books, and they are busy. Every author feels like their book, including myself, is a special baby that needs to be treated like solid gold. Print companies are not going to do that, so people end up having some issues. And also, yeah, there's areas Ingram Spark I can already tell you can improve. Their customer service is a bit slow, but not unreasonably so. And they did address concerns. I did email them, but it took a minute to hear back. Also, figuring out their website is a massive pain. There are step-by-step tutorials on YouTube I recommend you look at, because if you don't know terminology, if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you can accidentally screw up the publication of your book. So I recommend step-by-step tutorials. I chose Ingram Spark though, because they didn't take a very unreasonable cut of the physical book, but I did not use them for the ebook because I saw I could make more money handling that through Smashwords. But we're going to focus on the physical now. I just really want to reiterate, when going through Ingram Spark's setup, don't make educated guesses. Do research on everything you're clicking, what it means, because that's very important. But you get to make some really fun choices at this point. You get to decide, hey, do I want hardback, paperback? What do you want to do? If it's a novella, it doesn't really work out to put it through hardback in Ingram Spark, because this is actually something I ran into. I wanted my book to be in hardback, but I'd have to charge so much money for a novella. It just felt wrong to do that to my subscribers, so I ended up going with paperback. And I ended up charging about $9.99 for novella, reasonable price, and I make a couple bucks for each paperback sold. Wonderful. Then you get to make more design choices that are a lot of fun. What kind of paper do you want? That more yellowy one, the print white? You can also choose, do you want it to look like a glossy booger or a stylistic matte cover? I went with matte because I have taste. I'm kidding. You can go glossy if you want, if that's your vibe. I want to go back to price though. Figure out what's reasonable for the length of the self-published book you're going for is. Think about your own status, whether or not people are going to pay. It's not something I can say like, oh, here's what you should charge for your book. I don't feel comfortable telling anyone what they should charge for their book. Feel out the field. Look into other self-published books that are around the same length, in the same genre, and judge for yourself. After you go through more steps about distribution, signing away your soul and the soul of your book, you also need to get these important numbers that you can pay through Ingram Spark to handle, or you can get cheaper other places. Figure it out for you. I think I ended up paying like $70 to get these two numbers that are really important for the ebook and the physical book of my book. I think they're called
ISBN.
They're essentially the universal identifier for your book. Upload your art and submit it for approval. Quick thing, you are going to have to figure out how to properly lay out your cover and all of this stuff for it to then fit on the dimensions of the book you've done. This is a pain in the ass process, and you need to have like some kind of Photoshop to do it right. My layout guy, Jay from Captured Words, did it for me. He's incredible. I lucked out in that sense. You can find someone like this to do it for you, or you can do it yourself. Gonna be annoying, and you also need to put your cover quotes and things like that on there. Yeah, I hope you've developed that. Sorry, back to the writing part. You also need to have basically a pitch for your book to put on your book, as well as hopefully some kind of review you can get from somebody who has some kind of recognizable name. And if you can't, just have a really long pitch on the back and fill it in with some stuff like, quotes from the book or something, whatever you feel appropriate. But once all of that's figured out and uploaded to Ingram Spark, you then need to submit it for approval. This can take some time. I've been told for some people it's taken up to a week. For me, it never took more than a couple of days. Why did I say that? Like, it happened multiple times because there were problems. So first time I got the proof back, I went, wonderful. That color's washed out as heck. That's probably not an issue. It'll be fine. And then I ordered some author copies, because after you say, hey, that looks fine enough, they say, great, do you want to put it for sale? You say, no, I want to not have it for sale or pre-order yet. I want to get author copies. So you do that. You get author copies sent to you. You pay for the faster shipping because, god damn it, you want it quickly, don't you? It's your book. So you wait, and even with the faster shipping, it's going to be at least a week. So you wait, and you wait, and you wait. Finally, oh my god, a book arrives and you're so thrilled. You need to relax though, because you need to have a calm and clear eye when looking at your books. You cut open the box, you pry back the things, you pull it out, and you lose your mind. You can't not be excited right now. You go ham. It's your book. Look at it. It's so pretty. But you need to rein it in and pick up one copy, because guess what? You ordered a bunch of copies because you need to make sure there's no inconsistencies. And you start going through page by page by page. Very important to look at every single page, make sure it's all flawless. You're going to find a problem. I guarantee you at this point, after looking at all these copies and reading your book, you need to physically read your book, you're gonna find an error. I can tell you, we all don't have that good of luck. In the many steps it took to get here, either the spine's not gonna be perfectly aligned, either the cover's not gonna be exactly right, maybe the text isn't centered how you want to, or you find a grammatical error in the book, like I did, that somehow slipped through all the editing. It's no one's fault, it just happens. Well, you need to redo a lot. You need to go and fix whatever the problem is, whether it's the art or the grammar. You need to, if it's the grammar, you re-pull it out from Vellum, doing this whole big round of changes. You then upload it to Ingram Spark, or if it's an art thing, you re-upload your art to Ingram Spark. You send it off for approval again, and you wait, and you wait, and you get the proof. They email you a thing back that's like, hey, here's your book, how we want it to look, which is the thing you got before, and you go through it, you go through it, you go through it, you go through it. Really check this time, because you learned your lesson. You're like, I'm not going to let this be bad again. And then you order it, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. In about another week or more, possibly 2, you get your books again. You cut it open, you rip out those books, and you start going over them with a fine-tooth comb, and that excitement is in you. You're thrilled. yes, it's your book and it's perfect and you love it. Okay. Now, because you're smart, you gave yourself a pretty far off release date. Sorry, when you're uploading everything to your Spark, you need to choose a release date and on sale date. You make those the same thing and you make them pretty far off. I gave myself 4 months from when I first started doing this to actually have it published. Probably should have gone for even further. I should have played it more safe, but I really want to get my book to you guys. Luckily, it worked out for me. It's going to work out for you. Now you have time to breathe. You have time to promote your book. You have time to read it again and again and again and just try and squash that voice in the back of your head that's telling you there's still problems when you know there's not, because you're going to keep looking it over. But make sure to check them over again and again, you lazy bastard. You're also going to have a lot of copies of your book by now because you had to order 2 printings. You got a lot each time, so you had some consistency and a check through. Start giving your book to people you care about. People who helped you along the way as a simple thank you. Just give them your book. I got my book in the hands of a lot of friends and family because obviously, yeah, I'm going to appreciate the support they've given me. And that's going to feel so good to do. Take a moment to really appreciate this and process the fact that you have a book you've written in your hands. That's impressive and you should feel good about it. And, don't ever at any step let yourself be okay with it not being exactly what you want. If the artist sends you a draft and is like, hey, is this what you wanted? Be confident enough to say, hey, could you tweak this, change that? They want you to do that because they want their services to make you happy. And at no point should you just not be brave enough or bold enough to say, I need this change to be done. Luckily, along the way, I worked with really talented people and pretty much was just consistently impressed with what they were doing. But there were definitely times where I had to go, hey, no, change that, didn't like that. And it's important for you to do that. I just want to take this moment to really stand up for your book because no one else will. And as the days tick by, you're going to realize you didn't handle the ebook and you need to do that. This is another but you need to handle the ebook, so let's get into that as well. Cool. Ebook. So you're going to take your thing from Vellum and you're also going to have a version of your book that's just the ebook cover from the person who did your layout. They're going to give you an ebook version. They're also going to give you the paperback layout and they're also going to give you an audiobook one. We'll handle audiobooks in a whole other video because I'm still in the middle of dealing with audiobooks. So now you're going to try to find a distributor that you like for ebooks, someone who can put it in multiple places for you. I decided with Smashwords because they handle a lot of the big guys, not all of them, but enough that it was really going to simplify the process and they didn't take an unreasonable cut. Make a Smashwords account, upload your ebook, set the prices, set all this stuff, sign away the rights, all these things. Get it in there, have the cover uploaded, set the release date to be the same as your print, and realize they don't have a couple of the big guys. You need to still handle Kindle, so you go to Kindle Direct Publishing, you do the same thing there. They also handle Google, you go to Google Publishing, do the same there. Make sure you cover your bases and you have your ebook everywhere. Yes, you can use Ingram Spark's ebook service, which will handle a lot of this for you, but they're gonna take a bigger cut, and it'll be a substantial amount of money not going into your pocket, so keep that in mind. It's a lot easier to handle the ebooks than the physical, obviously for many reasons, but at this point, your book is ready to go. You set it for pre-order if you're happy and you're good, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. And you make videos about publishing while you're just losing your mind, waiting for your book to release, constantly wondering if something went wrong. And you didn't catch it. Anyway, that's my experience with the publishing process so far. It's not easy, but it's worth it and it's pretty fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it informative in some way. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here, and let me know if you learned something about the publishing process here, because it's not a piece of cake. It's stressful, it's a lot of little steps, and at the end you get your baby though. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.
And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out